Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day. And today, the Houston Texans have released their 2024 coaching staff. Let's go over what this coaching staff looks like going into the 2024 season. Obviously, some of these top spots we already know. DeMeco Ryans still the head coach, of course. Matt Burke is still the defensive coordinator. He was, really solid for the Texans last year as the defensive coordinator, although DeMeco was, running the defense. Bobby Slowick is returning as the offensive coordinator. Frank Ross is returning as the special teams coordinator. The safeties coach is Steven Adagoki. I hope I said his name right. Sean Baker is our defensive assistant. Danny Barrett is the assistant head coach and running backs coach. Ben Bowling is the defensive assistant. Will Burnham is the assistant special teams. Bill Davis is the linebackers coach. Gerard James is an offensive assistant. Gerard Johnson returns as the quarterback coach. That was, there were teams that were going after him to potentially be an offensive coordinator, but he decided to come back to the Texans. Also, Bill Lazor is the senior offensive assistant. Ben McDaniels is the wide receivers and offensive passing game coordinator. Ryan Malas is defensive assistant. Jake Moreland is the tight ends coach. I'm pretty sure he was our tight ends coach last year. A lot of these guys are returning from last year. Nate Oli is an assistant defensive line. Cole Popovich, I wonder if there's any relations to Greg, is an assistant offensive line. Mike Snyder is offensive assistant. Chris Schrosser, offensive line. Corey Undelin, defensive passing game coordinator. Dino Vasso, defensive backs. Lander Wallace, offensive quality control. Rod Wright, defensive line. And the final two are Zach Yinser, assistant offensive line, and Jake Olson, assistant to the head coach. So, yeah, it really recaps the Texans coaching staff for 2024. I like this coaching staff. More importantly, I love that, obviously DeMeco's back. That's for sure. But I like that we are, keeping some of the top guys that, helped this team outside of DeMeco Ryans and the coaching staff, guys like Bobby Slowick, who was excellent as the offensive coordinator. There was some troubles with, there were a couple games where there was some bad play calling, but, I think that there were a couple games on the road throughout the season. I think the Atlanta game, and the Carolina game, and even the Baltimore game in the playoffs, were rough. I think there was some rough playing. There was some rough play calling sometimes on the road. But if that can get better, Bobby Slowick is a great offensive coordinator, and I'm not surprised that no one hired him as a head coach this year because it was his first year as an offensive coordinator. That unless the team has a lot of success, which the Texans did, but I'm thinking more like success in the postseason, like championship game, Super Bowl. Maybe I think Slowick would have been hired as a head coach, but I don't think this was Slowick's window. Although he was getting interviews, I think he interviewed with like 3 or 4 teams. I just don't think that. I just didn't think he was going to get hired, and I also thought that he would want to return to Houston. But honestly, I think this will probably be his last year as the Texans' offensive coordinator, which sucks. But the reason I say that is because if the Texans have a lot of success like they did last year, and I would think if the success they have will be better than they were. I think they're going to be better than they were last year, especially with the additions they're going to make this offseason. So with that being said, I think a lot of teams, just depending how many head coaching opens there are, I think there's a good chance Slowick might get a head coaching job next year, but we'll just see what happens. But I'm also glad Matt Burke is back. Same thing goes for Gerard Johnson. But you know what? The thing is that if Bobby Slowick were to get a head coaching job, great for him. I think the good thing for the Texans is if Slowick does leave for a head coaching opportunity next year after this 2024 season, the thing is that we have a great guy to replace him as the offensive coordinator in Gerard Johnson, who's been the quarterback's coach, and I think that would probably be the favorite to become the new offensive coordinator if Slowick were to get a head coaching job for the 2025 season. But that's a long time away, so let's not worry about it now. We got everybody back: D'Amico, Bobby Slowick, Matt Burke, and Gerard Johnson, and a lot of other coaches are back as well, so that's great for the Texans. Not a lot of coaches wanted to leave this Texans team. A lot of coaches probably had chances, like Gerard Johnson, quarterback coach, and Bobby Slowick, offensive coordinator, but they didn't, and that's a great sign. Let me know your thoughts on the Texans coaching staff in the comment section, and peace out.